Welcome, everyone. Today we're going to talk about flattening the hierarchy. Our focus is on scaling object-oriented systems, particularly by leveraging composition and data-driven types. On the left, you see a visual representation of a traditional deep class hierarchy. This vertical stack of many layers often leads to complex inheritance chains, tight coupling, and challenges when it comes to flexibility and refactoring, especially as systems grow. The illustration on the right, contrasted with the left, depicts a flattened approach. Instead of deep inheritance, we emphasize composition, building complex objects from simpler, well-defined parts. The green outline represents a broader, more modular container, and within it, distinct, independent components are composed together. This approach, especially when combined with data-driven types, promotes looser coupling, easier maintenance, and significantly improves scalability and adaptability in object-oriented systems. It's about moving from rigid vertical structures to more flexible horizontal and modular architectures. The architecture of inertia bloat, as depicted on this slide, highlights a critical pitfall in system design. It demonstrates how building deep, unnecessary inheritance hierarchies solely to model slight variations in data inevitably creates a fragile foundation. When every minor property change forces the creation of a new subclass, the system scales vertically and rapidly spirals out of control. Observe the diagram on the right. A vehicle class at the top extends through numerous intermediate, often empty classes, leading down to more specific types like gas vehicle. What follows is a series of striped boxes, explicitly labeled as data-only layers. These layers represent classes introduced purely to accommodate minor data differences, adding no significant behavioral logic. This excessive deep nesting culminates in a sedan gas vehicle class, which, due to the extensive and often superficial inheritance chain above it, becomes a fragile base class. Such an architecture is highly susceptible to breakage with minimal changes, making maintenance and evolution extraordinarily challenging. The yo-yo problem describes a common challenge in software development, particularly when dealing with deeply nested code structures. Our human working memory is quite limited, generally holding only about 7 ± 2 chunks of information at any given time. Imagine trying to trace a bug through 20 layers of vertical inheritance. This process forces the brain to constantly jump back and forth between numerous files. Each jump requires reloading context, physically exhausting a developer's cognitive cache, as visually represented here by the tangled lines leading to the cognitive cache overflow flag. Good software design fundamentally favors breadth over depth, a principle critical for maintainability and comprehension. Well-architected systems, as highlighted here, rarely exceed 2 or 3 levels of inheritance. The diagram on the left illustrates the pitfalls of deep hierarchies, depicting a stack representing 19 layers of required context. Navigating such a structure is akin to forcing the brain down a 20-story elevator, demanding an extensive mental model to understand dependencies and interactions. In contrast, the diagram on the right exemplifies a preferred approach, a system that is only 1 or 2 levels deep. Mature architectures achieve this by growing outward, primarily using composition and data profiles to manage complexity, separating concerns into discrete properties for data and strategies for behavior, rather than relying on deep, convoluted inheritance chains. Collapsing a complex, deeply nested hierarchy doesn't require an overnight rewrite of a 20-depth disaster. Instead, we can approach this transformation in 2 manageable steps, beginning by identifying classes that solely set variables and extracting them, and then proceeding to isolate capabilities into pluggable components. The first step, flatten data layers, focuses on simplifying our data representation. We identify subclasses whose primary function is merely to define or hold variables, without overriding complex logic. As illustrated, these data-rich, logic-poor layers can be extracted and consolidated, often into declarative configurations like JSON. By doing so, we can effectively delete these redundant subclasses, significantly reducing the depth and complexity of our data hierarchy. Following this, we move to componentize middle layers. Here, the goal is to isolate specific functionalities and turn them into independent, pluggable components. Instead of embedding complex behaviors directly within an entity, we refactor these capabilities into distinct interfaces or strategy classes. The diagram shows how an entity can interact with a flyable component, for example. This pattern allows an entity to dynamically acquire or change its behaviors by attaching different components, promoting modularity, reusability, and much easier maintenance and extension of our system.
This slide introduces the core pivot towards data-driven factories. Traditionally, a factory might instantiate numerous distinct subclasses to create different object types. However, as illustrated here, a modern factory operates differently. It instantiates a single generic class, such as our game entity, and then dynamically injects a specific data profile into it at runtime. On the left, we see various data profiles like speed, health, and attack, feeding into the factory. This factory then produces generic game entity instances, each imbued with a unique set of attributes, represented by the lightning bolt, plus sign, and sword within the entities on the conveyor belt. This approach greatly enhances flexibility and reduces the need for extensive class hierarchies, enabling more dynamic and data-centric object creation. To construct a dynamic pipeline for a flat architecture, the fundamental principle involves separating configuration data from the core behavior, with the dynamic factory method serving as the sole link between them. The process begins by defining a profile as pure data structures, where all variations of an object are explicitly laid out. Following this, a generic class is established, designed to handle all common behaviors, such as movement or rendering, by leveraging the profile data injected into it. The crucial third step involves a factory method, which accepts a string identifier, then fetches the corresponding property profile and injects it into the generic class during object creation. This entire pipeline culminates in efficient usage, allowing us to dynamically spawn various types of objects with distinct configurations, all without incurring the typical overhead associated with extensive subclassing hierarchies. Embracing the power of treating variations as dynamic types fundamentally transforms how we approach software development. By shifting compile time classes into runtime configuration data, we drastically reduce what might once have been a 20-step mental marathon into a single, flat concept. This simplification is something your developers' brains will genuinely appreciate. Let's look at the key advantages. First, we achieve zero recompilation. This means adding a new child type becomes as simple as dropping an adjacent file, with absolutely no deployment needed. Secondly, it leads to a significantly flat codebase. Imagine eliminating 50 individual files that once managed 50 slightly different variations of a single concept. This approach streamlines your project structure immensely. Finally, we gain incredible runtime flexibility. This allows us to swap an object's property profile on the fly. Think of it like a video game character consuming a speed potion, instantly altering its attributes without any code changes or restarts. This adaptability is invaluable for dynamic and evolving systems. Every architectural choice we make fundamentally represents a trade-off. As this slide illustrates, shifting complexity from a compile-time type system into runtime data configurations can effectively resolve issues like inertia bloat, but this introduces an entirely new and distinct set of architectural risks. On the left, visualized as a heavy stack of boxes, we see the consequences of deep object-oriented programming, or deep OOP. This approach emphasizes compile-time type system complexity, often resulting in rigid hierarchies, significant compile time bloat, and high inertia, making changes difficult and slow. Conversely, on the right, represented by documents flowing through gears, is the data-driven factory model. This paradigm embraces runtime data configuration, offering substantial benefits such as runtime flexibility, a flatter codebase, and highly dynamic configuration. However, this shift doesn't eliminate complexity. It transforms it into a different set of runtime data configuration and associated risks. Our goal, as indicated by the central balance, is to engage in an objective evaluation, understanding that true balance isn't about avoiding complexity, but about choosing the type of complexity and risk that best suits our project and organizational context. The first significant risk we encounter is the phenomenon of the God class and the related issue of behavior creep. As behaviors within a system begin to diverge, for instance, a mage casting unique spells while a warrior utilizes stamina for distinct abilities, a single generic class designed to encompass all these functionalities quickly becomes overwhelmed. This leads to an explosion of unmaintainable conditional statements, as depicted in the flowchart on the left. You can see the intricate if-else-if checks for different entity types and nested switch statements for various behaviors, resulting in a complex spaghetti-like logic riddled with conditional paths and potential error paths. The proposed fix, illustrated on the right, is to break down this monolithic structure. Instead of embedding all behavior directly within a game entity, we externalize specific behaviors into separate components, like combat behavior, and compose them with the game entity. This promotes modularity, reduces complexity, and makes the system far more maintainable and extensible. Our second risk, bypassing the compiler, unequivocally demands strict validation. When working with generic game entity objects and external JSON configuration, we inherently lose compile time type safety. A seemingly minor typo in a JSON file, such as providing a string where a number is expected for a property like speed, can lead to silent, hard-to-diagnose runtime bugs. The broken shield visually represents this critical loss of compile time type safety. The solution lies in robust schema validation. As depicted in the lower section, our JSON configurations are processed through a schema validation engine, leveraging powerful tools like Zod or established JSON schema standards. This process is crucial for preventing garbage in, garbage out at load time, ultimately yielding validated data that ensures runtime safety before it proceeds into storage or further application use. Risk 3 addresses debugging and observability obscurity, a significant challenge in modern systems. While traditional object-oriented programming often provides clear stack traces that pinpoint exactly where a failure occurred, for instance in a specific file like archer.ts, data-driven systems present a different scenario. Here, a heap dump might reveal tens of thousands of seemingly identical instances of something like gameentity.ts, effectively obscuring crucial conceptual clues. As the visual illustrates, trying to understand a single entity amidst a sea of undifferentiated GE blocks becomes a monumental task. This often necessitates manual inspection of internal state variables for each instance to truly determine what that object conceptually represents and to diagnose the underlying issue. This architectural diagnostic matrix presents a definitive comparison between traditional deep object-oriented programming hierarchies and modern data-driven factories. On the left, we examine deep OOP inheritance, which is often characterized by rigid code structures, fragile base classes, and extensive deep nesting. Issues in this paradigm are frequently caught at compile time, making them generally easier to identify and resolve upfront. However, its inherent rigidity means that evolving or changing functionality often necessitates significant code rewrites. Conversely, the data-driven factory approach, shown on the right, tends to manifest challenges such as God classes that accrue complex if-else logic, leading to potential runtime data errors. The diagnostics for these systems primarily occur at runtime or within configuration files, which can make issues considerably harder to catch and debug. Despite this, data-driven factories offer a significant advantage in their fluidity, allowing for types to be swapped and behaviors altered without requiring direct modifications to the underlying code. Understanding the fundamental transition from rigid compile time practices to fluid runtime execution is crucial in modern software development, as depicted by the central theme of this slide. Flattening the hierarchy is not merely about deleting files or simplifying code structure. It represents a deliberate and strategic decision to exchange the strictness and predictability of compile time rigidity for enhanced runtime fluidity and adaptability. A critical prerequisite for successfully navigating this shift is ensuring that any variations within your system remain strictly data differentiated before making the architectural jump. This prevents complexity from simply shifting from one domain to another. Our diagram visually illustrates this journey. On the horizontal axis, we move from compile time rigid on the left to runtime fluid on the right, signifying a spectrum of control and flexibility. Vertically, we ascend from deep inheritance at the bottom, characteristic of traditional object-oriented paradigms, to flat composition at the top, favoring aggregation over deep class hierarchies. The dashed curve charts the ideal evolutionary path, from a highly inherited compile time-bound state towards a more composed, dynamic, and runtime flexible architecture, ultimately reaching the desired state highlighted by the star in the upper right quadrant. This represents a more agile and adaptable system, capable of responding to changing requirements more efficiently.